More for one of college basketball's best scorers and most exciting players. TJ Warren, 7th in the country in scoring, is having an MVP-type season. He leads tonight against one of the most dynamic players in the ACC, KJ McDaniels, a scorer and a shot blocker. He leads Clemson in just about every statistical category. It's the 148th meeting between NC State and Clemson. This is the ACC on ESPN. And tonight from Littlejohn Coliseum, it's a series that has been nip and tuck as of late, one that has gone down to the buzzer in each of the last 3 matchups. And here's why it matters. Double buys are available for the top teams in the ACC. Single buys in the middle of the pack. NC State holds tiebreakers against a bunch of squads in the middle, and they're trying to improve their standing here tonight, as is Clemson. Welcome courtside, everybody. Tom Hart alongside Corey Alexander. A lot to play for when you're a bubble team, even more so when you think about the conference tournament.
Absolutely, and both these teams still have Pittsburgh on the schedule, so they have an eye on passing the Panthers up, trying to at least get into that 5th spot.
And as we take a look at our 1-and-1, we get a dependable scorer and a versatile guy that can do everything for Clemson.
And TJ Warren is a guy that comes out for NC State, and he gets it done in so many ways. He attacks the paint, and unlike most scorers, he does it with a clip of 52% from the field, leading the ACC in field goal percentage, and he's a guy that scores buckets in many different ways. KJ McDaniels for Clemson, one of the most versatile players in the game of college basketball, leads his team in not only scoring and rebounding, but block shots, 3-point field goals, and steals. He gets it done on both ends of the floor.
Both teams were a possession away from major wins over the weekend. Here are the starters for Clemson, and yeah, that's a surprise at center. Sidi Jete, the 6'10 sophomore, will get the call at the 5 spot for the Tigers today. His first career start for a 6-6 team in conference play. NC State will stick with their typical starting 5, at least as of late. Tyler Lewis has taken the reins at the point. Ralston Turner has proven to be a fine extra piece in this offense next to TJ Warren, who leads the ACC in scoring. He's bidding to become the first Wolfpack player to do that since Todd Fuller finished 1996 as a top scorer in league play. Ready to get things going. Clemson off of the home loss against Virginia. NC State lost by 1 at number 1, Syracuse. Best news for the Pack today? No travel issues. Getting to the upstate. Nice and easy trip in.
Absolutely. After their dilemma trying to get to Syracuse going up on game day, but Coach Godfrey still happy about the way that they were able to perform.
Hall trying to work inside, and he works right by Tyler Lewis for his first bucket.
And we talked with Coach Brownell about Rod Hall becoming that second scorer for the Clemson Tigers, and Rod Hall off to a very good start attacking the basket against Tyler Lewis.
Only gives him 9 points a game, only had 4 last time out. NC State is kind of a throwback offense, not just with TJ Warren. They do not rely on the 3-ball. This is a 1984 type offense. Most of their scoring happens inside the arc. 7-footer Vandenberg keeps it alive. Warren fires. Already 2 attempts for a team and only shoots 15 a game from deep. Hall go after it, and he's got 4 early and a chance for 5. You think somebody was listening to his head coach?
And of course, throughout the ACC, teams feel though they can attack Tyler Lewis playing one-on-one. He's not the biggest guy on the court, and Rod Hall attacks with that strength, is able to finish through the contact for the and 1.
Hall knocks down the free throw. He has all 5 for Clemson. Easy to see what their offensive plan is, and defensively, Clemson is one of the best lockdown teams in the ACC. And there's a foul on Harrison. DeMarcus Harrison's first. Brad Brownell's team doesn't care much for tempo. 350th in the nation in tempo. They're all about defense, and they're second best in the country, allowing only 56 points per game. Officials wanted to get everybody on the same page. Turner running the baseline, and an illegal screen on Kyle Washington. his first.
And we talked about NC State not being a team that wants to rely on the three, but they're running a lot of opportunities for Rawson Turner. As you see, Mark Godfrey, of course, now in his third season at NC State, trying to get that third consecutive bid for the Wolfpack to the NCAA tournament. And right now they find themselves in the middle of the pack, but surging toward the top.
An RPI of 51. A good strength of schedule for NC State. Travel there. But what NC State is missing is what Mark Gottfried could have had Saturday night at Syracuse, and that was a signature victory to really shore up their resume.
Well, and you say could have had, and according to Mark Godfrey, they should have had that victory. A controversial call, of course, at the end of the game, but he's still happy with the way the Wolfpack have been playing recently.
And there's a turnover by Washington, dragged his pivot foot. Second turnover for State. And that's a rarity. Gottfried's club only gives it up 11 times a game. You hit the nail on the head, partner, when you called K.J. McDaniels versatile. He does everything for Clemson.
And you like to call him a jack of all trades, but he's a master of a few of them.
Yes, indeed.
You can't say master of none because he gets it done. He's the Swiss Army knife on the basketball court.
Yet neither team has gone to their top scorer just yet, with the exception of T.J. Warren's missed three after an offensive rebound. Turner into the paint. I don't know if that was a pass or a slip, but Clemson comes out with it. That's a two, and it's too strong for McDaniels. Putback's too strong. There's McDaniels on the glass. And Vandenberg, who's been a foul machine, commits his first. Here's an illustration of where K.J. McDaniels leaves his mark, and it is all over the stat sheet.
And he's the only player in the country, not just the ACC, but the only player in the country to lead his team in scoring, rebounding, block shot steals, and three-pointers made. So you're talking about a guy that is getting it done in all areas for the Clemson Tigers. The issue for them has been they don't have a player in conference games, in 12 conference games, averaging over 7 points per game other than K.J. McDaniels, and that's been the biggest issue for the Tigers all year. Who can step up and be that second scorer on a consistent basis?
He's been their go-to guy, 54 points in the last two games for McDaniels. And he knocks them both down. It's a touchdown lead for Clemson. NC State has looked sloppy here early after their near upset against #1 Syracuse. And it's taken away by Jeté. Harrison on the run. Rejected. Sent to the students by your guy, B.J. Anya, who was all over that ball.
Well, you're talking about the 7'9" wingspan of B.J. Anya, and he can cover a lot of ground with those long arms. And what he gives away as far as height, he goes about 6'9", normally playing against guys much bigger, but his length makes up for it.
Mark Gottfried has already gone deep into his bench for Anya and Leonard Freeman. And he'll do the same at his point guard position now as Cap Barber, the freshman from Hampton, Virginia, replaces Lewis. What's with the rotation early on for Gottfried in the first 3 minutes of this game?
Well, he doesn't like their energy, and right now coming out, and you talked about this team has been playing well, but for them to start out down 7-0 here, and this is not a place you want to get buried behind Clemson, because the way they defend is extremely difficult to make up when they have big leads.
Turner had a near steal on McDaniels. Now Jeté tried to go up and under, instead gives it away. An ill-advised pass from 5 feet, but Clemson has it. Shot clock winding. And a whistle inside will go against the Tigers. And that will go against Sidy Jeté. That's his first. Well, he gave him 3.5 good minutes in his first career start. Now he gets a breather.
He really did, and of course he's starting because Landry Noko missed the Virginia game due to illness. And you know, one of the things with college coaches, they're not going to start you when you haven't been around for practice. But as Noko comes back into the lineup, he was sorely missed against Virginia in his production in the paint.
NC State has started this game 0 for 2 with 4 turnovers in the first nearly 4 minutes. After a back-and-forth game at Syracuse, it featured 13 ties and 18 lead changes. That was played in front of more than 30,000. This is a more intimate setting here at Littlejohn. Shot clock at 5. Cap Barber, great high school scorer, throws it off the glass, and NC State has another second chance. Turner makes it count.
We talked about NC State not being a team that shoots a lot of three-pointers. However, that is Ralston Turner's role on this team. He's the guy they want to get looks from behind the three-point arc, and he's able to capitalize there, shooting a career-high 39% from three, already 50 made three-point field goals this year for the Wolfpack.
Harrison gives it right back to Hall. Milko is in the game now, turns it over. Well, it's only 3 points in the first 4 minutes and 46 seconds for NC State after a close call against Syracuse. We'll revisit that one from the Carrier Dome next. ESPNU's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Walt Disney World Resort. Come show your Disney side. On Saturday, NC State was almost able to do what no other team has been able to this season. Knock off #1 Syracuse. With the pack up, TJ Warren appears to get the hoop and harm to ice the game, but the officials say no basket. Fouls on the floor. Instead, NC State turns it over. And then the game winner from C.J. Fair with 6.7 left. TJ Warren got a look, so did Turner at the end. But Syracuse indeed stayed undefeated, #1 in the country, and leading the ACC. And that's got some NC State fans up in arms about the call at the end of the game.
Well, and the call, of course, we've had the opportunity to sit back, and fans at home get opportunities to look at it in instant replay time and time again. But when you have to make that call in live action, you have to have conviction with it, and I believe the call that was made, it really could have gone either way.
And let's be honest, Syracuse is undefeated for a reason. They've got 12 ACC wins. 6 of them have come by 6 points or fewer. They may not dominate, but they know how to win.
Absolutely, and they know how to win close games, and they've proven that throughout this season as Adonis Fowler knocks down a 3. And right now, Clemson is really getting the job done, but more importantly, they're able to attack the paint and bring NC State's defense in, kicking it out for the 3.
He had made a 3 in his last 10 attempts. That covered 5 games, but now Turner's trying to answer, and he does so.
And another 3 for Ralston Turner, and we spoke it up. We talked about how NC State has the highest percentage of 2-point field goals in the country as far as the way they score their points, but it's been just the 2 3-pointers from Ralston Turner. That's the only way they've gotten on the board here this evening.
Game is whipped to his left, and that's an offensive foul against the second best scorer in ACC play.
Long court pass to Warren. He makes the catch. He gets the basket. It will not count.
And so this is where it occurred. 13.9 left in the clock. Continuation or not?
From that angle, it's continuation. No question about it. When you look at it, that angle is continuation. But there's another angle that we've been able to see that shows that it's not continuation as far as to when the foul occurred.
And that's language you may be familiar with, and basketball fans are, but to be perfectly honest, isn't in the NCAA rulebook. Continuation is an NBA situation. And folks are as divided about that call as you will find. There's another triple. This time it's DeMarcus Harrison.
And we talked about both these teams not really being much from beyond the three-point line, but it's been a huge weapon early in this game. Now each team 2 3-pointers. Clemson has just done a little more to put them up 7.
Here's Barber, gives it up. Anya lost the handle on it. That call at the end of NC State Syracuse impacts a lot of people. It would have been the first loss of the season likely for Syracuse. NC State would have had a resume-building win, and maybe T.J. Warren a resume-building case for Player of the Year.
And you look at that angle where the foul committed, where the foul is committed, it is not continuation. And, of course, you see continuous motion is actually the term for it in the NCAA. It is continuation in the NBA, as we talked about, but this is by definition. And when you look at that, at the angle we just saw, I agree with the call that the basket should not count. Now, of course, we can look at when the foul was called, when the official's arm came up, when the whistle was blown. But in live action, we don't have the benefit of instant replay, etc. And it's just a judgment call on the official's part at that time.
Washington, the southpaw, went wide. It will go back to Clemson. A slow start for NC State. You know, put that call out of it. NC State lost a 5-point lead with 6 minutes to go. That could have been a monster win in so many different scenarios for Mark Gottfried's club. How is that affecting them here tonight, if at all?
And I believe they do have a little bit of hangover for that one, because when you think about it, they're 6-6. They're right in the middle of the pack, but they're a young team. You talk about their superstar as a sophomore. They play 3-4 freshmen on a consistent basis, and it's a new team compared to what Mark Gottfried had last year. They have to learn to win, and when you think about things like that, they may have just a bit of hangover from not coming away with that win in Syracuse.
When you talk about experience, there's only 21 teams in the country that are younger in terms of experience. Their BPI is 68. The RPI is 51. A great strength of schedule. And they had the key win at Tennessee. They lost at home to Missouri, so they had opportunities. 4-8 versus the top 100.
But when you look at that resume and you think about the fact that right now they sit 6-6 in the ACC, if they're able to finish 10-8, they have a strong possibility of playing in the NCAA tournament.
Hall wide on his three, and it's brought down by Desmond Lee. T.J. Warren on the run is able to get to the free throw line after the foul from Austin Ojukwu. It's a first on Ojukwu, and that's a fifth on Clemson.
And Ojukwu getting minutes now, of course, didn't play much early in the season. And at the Virginia game, actually played 13 minutes. Coach Brownell not getting a lot of production from his shooting guard position, so getting him in the game. But, of course, he has to understand this is the one guy you don't really want to put on the line because he is knocking them down from everywhere, not just the free throw line, but scoring in every way possible, leading the ACC at over 23 points a game.
And those are his first points coming 8 minutes into this game. You don't want to prime his pump and get him going by looking at the rim.
That's true, but one thing you and I both know, he can score buckets and in a hurry and score them in bunches. He's had some huge halves, whether it's been the first or stretches throughout this season.
At 25 2 games ago against Wake in the first half, finished with a career-high 34. Lee into the paint, Warren reverses, and too strong on that one. Ojukwu has it. He had a couple of big shots for Clemson against Virginia. Now Hall, that one got redirected. Noko fighting hard.
And Landry Noko making his presence felt, but you have to like the attack by Rod Hall. We talked about the coaches for Clemson want him to be more aggressive, and his attack gets them the opportunity for the offensive rebound right by the basket, and Noko's able to put it back in for the second chance point.
Quick move for Cap Barber. He drains it. That was a fine-looking move for a kid that you know well.
That is, and of course, that's the shot that Mark Godfrey talked about. He wanted Cap Barber taking those shots because very few guys can stay in front of him in the ACC, and once he gets to that 12-foot mark, he wants him putting those up. But of course, he hasn't been shooting them well. He has to make more of those shots.
He was a 2,000-point scorer in high school. All he did was break Allen Iverson's high school records. Nice touch with the left hand from Josh Smith.
And early in this game, Clemson's getting a lot of production from his guys, really unexpected production offensively. But I know Brad Brennan's happy about it and happy these guys have been able to get it done for him here at home.
Barber fits it through a window, and that may have surprised T.J. Warren just a little bit. He walked with it. It's the 6th turnover for NC State. 10:26 to go in the first. It's a 7-point lead. The bench giving Clemson production, including Josh Smith. Welcome back. Super Tuesday from Clemson, part of the ACC on ESPN. Time for a flashback focus, some action-packed games in this series, and last year was one of them. Clemson had the lead, but with 7.5 to go, Lorenzo Brown drove to the hoop, found Scout Wood off of the screen. That's a game-winning three with 1 second to go. That erased a 3-game conference losing streak for NC State. 58-57 was the final. Go back to the 2010-11 matchup here at Little John. Clemson came back from 19 down to win by 10.
And then even the 11-12 year, it was Andre Young knocking down a three, similar to Scott Wood's shot, to beat the Wolfpack when Clemson was celebrating its 100 years of basketball.
And so what can it mean for a game to come down to the wire and get a win? Well, when the top 7 teams in the league get a bye and the top 4 get a double bye, you can bet that there is a ton on the line. And top 6 is where you want to finish, right? You get to 8-9 games. The 8-9 seeds will play each other in the first round, and then somebody else gets an extra day of play. What's available for NC State? Where could they finish in your mind?
Well, honestly, both of these teams, NC State and Clemson, still have Pittsburgh on the schedule. So when you think about that, and Pitt has beaten both these teams this year, but when you look at it, if they're able to get to where Pittsburgh is at 5, now you know that you play the lowest seed on Thursday. The lowest seed left is whoever wins. So from that standpoint, and you have the opportunity to play a team that has played the day before. So each of these teams still at least eyeing that 5 spot, not basically giving that to Pittsburgh and seeing how far up the ladder they can close.
Our superstars have been eerily silent to start. And now KJ McDaniels takes a cue with his first field goal.
And that's where he's improved so much as a basketball player. You see him making plays off the dribble, shooting the jump shot. And KJ McDaniel came to Clemson as an athlete. But under Coach Brad Brownell, he has progressed to so much more of a basketball player. We talked about all the things that he does. But what I love about him so much, he still approaches the game the exact same way he did as a freshman trying to make a name for himself.
Lee off balance, gets it to go. First field goal for the junior from Norfolk. Clemson led this game by scoring the first 7. They still have a 7-point lead. McDaniels off the screen. Failed to draw iron. NC State is just 3 of 10 from the floor. And the Wolfpack has turned it over 6 times. Barber splits the D, finds Washington.
Cat Barber has stayed inside that purple against Clemson. Since he's come into the game, the offense has really started to pick up for NC State, and a lot of it has to do with his dribble penetration, not only for himself to score. As Rod Hall does the same, attacking on the other end. A great move right there, kind of spun Desmond Lee around and attacks. But we've seen a different Rod Hall here this evening than we've seen recently in the ACC play, as he's continued to be in attack mode. And Brad Brownell, I'm sure, has to be happy with the way his junior captain is going about tonight's game.
Hall scored the first 5 for Clemson. Back to the free throw line. Vandenberg has to take a seat. Anya replaces him. Vandenberg has been foul prone. He already has 2. And Harrison also gets a breather. How about Rod Hall? 7 here in the first half. He averages only 9 per game.
And Rod Hall getting the assignment of guarding T.J. Warren, giving away about 8 inches right there. But that's how tough Rod Hall is. Brad Brownell feels though he can put him on the best player.
Clemson gets a timeout on a rolling save by Adonis Feiler right in front of their bench. On Wednesday, join us right here on ESPNU for a couple of conference battles. At 7, the American goes at it. UCF hosts Sean Kilpatrick at number 7 Cincinnati. Then at 9, it's a Big 12 matchup. TCU goes to Manhattan to take on Kansas State. Wednesday night hoops at 7 and 9 on ESPNU and live at Watch ESPN. Brad Brownell might have an interest in that Kansas State game. His former high school teammate Chris Lowry is now an assistant coach for Bruce Weber at Kansas State. Lowry, remember, was the head coach at Southern Illinois, took them to 3 straight NCAA tournaments. They also had another guy on the team, a guy by the name of Calvert Chaney, and he wasn't that bad either at Evansville Harrison High School.
Well, I tell you what, he started talking about the Evansville tree, and then you got Walter McCarty coming behind them. They put out a few basketball products coming out of his high school. I wonder where Coach Brownell feels low. He stacks up on that list. Is he on the Mount Rushmore?
He's taken 3 different schools to the tournament. All 3 he took in their first season.
I'll tell you what, we don't know if he's on the Mount Rushmore of the high school as far as players, but when it comes to coaches, he's definitely there because Brad Brownell is coaching them up here in Clemson, South Carolina.
I'll put him on the DePaul University Mount Rushmore. How about that? That's where he went to play college
Absolutely,
ball.
absolutely.
Calvert Chaney left Indiana as the all-time leading scorer in Big Ten history. They had a hard time getting their game in against Iowa tonight, huh? Some problems at Assembly Hall, we're told. Here at Littlejohn, this place won't be recognizable in a couple of seasons. They're going to tear it down and build a brand new one. They'll leave the roof, kind of like they did at Georgia Tech. K.J. McDaniels with the shot clock winding down, got elevation, and got a bucket.
And that's almost unfair when you think about the fact that K.J. McDaniels, on his penetrations, loses the basketball, however, gathers, realizes I'm a better athlete than everyone in the gym, and I'm just going to jump over top of them and knock this down from about 7 feet.
It's a 9-point Clemson lead, a foul on the Tigers. We'll talk about that when we get back to Littlejohn. It's a busy week ahead for the Duke Blue Devils. On Thursday, the Tobacco Road rivalry heats up as the Blue Devils take on North Carolina. Then on Saturday, they'll look to avenge their overtime loss at the Carrier Dome when they host #1 Syracuse at Cameron Indoor. #5 Duke versus Carolina Thursday at 9 on ESPN. And #1 Syracuse versus 5th-ranked Duke Saturday at 7 on ESPN and live on Watch ESPN. So Duke's got to get by Carolina first. And then the Orange come to town for the first time.
Absolutely, and that's a tough stretch for the Blue Devils right there. You're talking about those two teams in 3 days. The rivalry with North Carolina, the records never matter, but then the rematch of, in my opinion, was the best college basketball game of the year against Syracuse.
That's part of our journey to the tourney, presented by Sonic. The ACC, Corey, may not be having the year it imagined from top to bottom, but at the top, especially if you're only talking about Syracuse and Duke, you can't ask for any better.
Absolutely not. And when you think back, of course, the weekend alone, Super Bowl weekend, the ACC had a better weekend than NFL. Because you think about the game Saturday night with Syracuse and Duke, and then Sunday with Virginia and Pittsburgh, what they did on Super Bowl Sunday, and the Super Bowl was pretty much a bust as far as the game anyway. So I think the ACC won that weekend.
You're talking like a Broncos fan or something.
I'm just a football fan. I wanted to see a good game.
We saw great ACC games that weekend. I think that Virginia-Pitt game kind of fell below the radar for a lot of folks. But that had as thrilling a finish. Hall is finishing. He's been doing it since the first possession. Another chance for a three-point play for Rod Hall.
And Brad Brownell told us that the coaching staff has been on Rod Hall for about a week to stay in attack mode, and he has gotten the message. He is going to the rim, and right now he doesn't feel as though anyone, even Cat Barber, who's one of the best on-ball defenders in the league, Rod Hall doesn't feel as though anyone can stay in front of him right now.
That's a second three-point play. He's perfect from the free throw line. Largest lead of the game for Clemson. The ACC is the only league with multiple teams in the top 10. Ken Palm has 3 of them in his top 10. Tyler Lewis back on the floor. NC State has 2 very different point guards, and Lewis hits a runner. Both Lewis and Barber bring something different to the floor.
Absolutely. Tyler Lewis is more of a floor general, a guy who gets the ball, of course, to T.J. Warren, who should be getting it, where Cat Barber is more explosive as a scorer, and as each one of them continues to develop in their game, they need to kind of pick up what each one does. But Cat Barber is a much better defender, and that's one of the reasons why Tyler Lewis hasn't gotten as many minutes, but now is back in, of course, and they're going to the zone defense.
Talking about the strength of the ACC, Joe Lunardi, Joey Brackets has Syracuse as a #1 seed, of course, and Duke as a 2 seed. Michigan State is dealing with injuries. They've got a big week coming up. Shot clock at 3. McDaniels, second air ball from deep.
That's one of the very few times that you will see K.J. McDaniels settle in a situation with 6 seconds left on the shot clock, and we saw him with his athletic ability before just go jump over top of someone and knock down the short jumper. That time he settled for the 3, and he and Coach Brownell talking about that one, because of course and that's the thing for Coach Brad Brownell. He's going to coach his best player hard, and so from that standpoint, it makes it easier for you to coach everyone else. He's going to make sure that he takes every possible teaching moment that he has K.J. McDaniels to teach him, because he's not going to be on those sidelines very long.
Turner fires a 3. He's got 3 of those here this half. Double figures in 3 straight games, and a point away from making it 4 straight for Turner, the LSU transfer.
And he's been a big difference as far as his addition into the starting lineup for NC State. He gives them that presence on the interior, what makes it difficult for you to pay too much attention to T.J. Warren.
NC State has gone back to man. And Kyle Washington had Landry Noko wrapped up. It's his second on Washington. Vandenberg already has 2 for NC State. Clemson will be shooting after the next foul. K.J. McDaniels has 6. T.J. Warren has 2. Harrison too strong. Warren took over the Miami game in the second half. He took over the Wake game in the first half. Here he is with a nice touch.
And that's the thing about T.J. Warren. He's not going to go out there ball hawking and complaining about his touches. He finds a way to score the basketball, and just right there, getting himself in the right position for Tyler Lewis to find him and going to the baby hook over the left shoulder to get 2 more points and really to cut this game to 4.
He had 19 of the team's 24 in the second half against Miami. First half against Wake, he had 23. Those are high leverage situations for T.J. Warren. Before the game is decided, he takes over. Like against Wake, after the game was decided, well, he was content just to sit back and let everybody else get involved.
Absolutely, and he's not I mean, that's what you make a team player. You're talking about a guy that is willing to give it up and do whatever the team needs him to do to be successful.
On the other side, Clemson has K.J. McDaniels, who has 6, but they've turned to Rod Hall. You're looking for that second score, so was this Clemson coaching staff, and they've gotten it from Hall with a dozen.
Well, Rod Hall is now in the double figures. Clemson only had K.J. McDaniels, who scored 24 points against Virginia. They didn't have another player in double figures against the Cavaliers, so, of course, good news for the Tigers to come out here and see Rod Hall being aggressive.
Now 5-point game after a 7-0 NC State run over the last 2 minutes. And a good chunk of this run has come with K.J. McDaniels on the Clemson bench. He's back on the floor. Shot clock at 7. Got a post-up Turner. Noko wants it on Vandenberg, who's got 2. And he rolls it home.
Landry Noko again showing his presence on the interior, and of course when you score with Jordan Vandenberg, you're doing something special. Vandenberg goes about 7-1, but Landry Noko has been extremely productive, right? He has the highest plus-minus for any player on Clemson's team this season.
He left Vandenberg, who came down the lane and drew the foul. Nice look from Warren.
And that was a great decision by Jordan Vandenberg. As soon as he saw Landry Noko leave, he was able to go directly in and fill the paint. There's no one with the size to be able to contend with him at the rim. And great recognition by T.J. Warren to find Vandenberg flashing down the paint.
It was the first personal on Jordan Roper. Vandenberg, who's from Melbourne, Australia, has another free throw coming. What is it with Australian bigs, guys like Luke Longley, Andrew Bogut, Luke Neville, who played at Utah, throwing 7-footers down under. And they got a pretty good point guard coming out of Australia this year, Dante Exum.
Dante Exum is really good. I actually have an opportunity to coach against him in the Hoop Summit in April, but I can tell you, when you talk about Australia, you got to think Andrew Gaze.
Sure.
If you're going to talk about Australia basketball, Andrew Gaze is the poster child.
Took Seton Hall to the championship game against Michigan in '89. And there's a turnover for Clemson. NC State has worked its way back into this game. They just haven't been able to cross that threshold. It's Clemson by 7 again.
See you guys.
All right, Matt, thanks. So that's a missed opportunity for Iowa with a chance to get that visit to Assembly Hall, and they're having a good season in the Big Ten. Here it's a 7-point Clemson lead over NC State. What a year it's been so far in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Syracuse is one of just 2 unbeatens, knocked off NC State by a point on Saturday. Virginia's off to its best ACC start since a guy by the name of Ralph Sampson was there, and they've won their last 9. And North Carolina has suddenly won 7 in a row. How did that happen?
Well, I tell you what, they found their way, and I think a lot of it had to do with the move of putting Marcus Page back at the point guard position, because he seemed to be wearing down as a scorer, but putting him back at the point guard position. And James Michael McAdoo, the reigning ACC Player of the Week, has truly stepped up his production.
NC State had a really poor first half when they're lost to North Carolina. They get the Tar Heels again. Both teams playing much better at this point of the season, obviously, than when they previously met. Lewis got a bump from Roper, and that's all it takes for Roper's second personal.
And one thing we've seen out of NC State's offense now, with Tyler Lewis doing the same thing that Cat Barber was doing, they're attacking the paint. And that's one of the things that you usually don't see against this Clemson team. We talked about how good they are as far as defensively, only giving up 56 points a game, which ranks second in the nation. But right now, NC State has been having some success penetrating into the paint.
10 points in the paint for Mark Godfrey's squad. They lead the nation with 63% of their points coming from 2-point range, which is kind of flies in the face of Mark Godfrey as a player. He was a great 3-point shooter. He had 8 threes in one game against Vandy. You know, that guy shot 49% from deep when he was in those short shorts.
Well, I tell you what, and the other thing for him, of course, is he waits for one of his point guards to emerge as the leader of this team. As a point guard himself, that has to be extremely difficult to deal with, knowing that you personally know how to play the position.
Unselfish basketball, and Ojukwa's got his first bucket.
And great interior passing by Clemson. And Ojukwa did a tremendous job of not standing in the corner waiting for the play to come to him, but he made it happen by cutting to the basket and making himself available.
Clemson makes you work on defense. They force the second longest possessions in college basketball. And with a shot clock at 5, it's a perfect look as Lewis finds Anya.
And we talked about the difference in the point guards. Well, Tyler Lewis is not only the best passer for NC State, but really one of the best passers in college basketball. And he has great vision. So from that standpoint, if you get open for the Wolfpack, he's going to get you the basketball.
Back into the paint for Noko. He just lost on the way up, but they're going to get Anya for his first. Last time down for Clemson.
And Clemson moving the basketball, but as you see, Ojukwa moving without the ball, not standing out on the perimeter, waiting for a three-point shot. And the great pass by KJ McDaniels to find Ojukwa for the layup. But that's a big sign for the freshman getting in there and knowing that, okay, I don't have to stand out here and wait. If I just attack, my teammate will find me.
And a correction, that last foul was not on Anya. It was instead on T.J. Warren, his first. Warren averages 23 points a game. He's got 4 in the first 18 minutes tonight. Turner took it to the floor. And a whistle will go against Clemson. And Jerron Blossomgame charged with his first personal. Not only does that give NC State the possession, but that will put the Pack on the free throw line, and Brad Brownell just can't believe it.
And of course, if you're able to knock down these 2 free throws, now you're talking about a 1-possession game. And quietly, NC State has found itself back into this after getting down 7-0 to start and looking as though they had very little energy to come out and play this game. They found their way back into it and building some momentum as we come to the end of the half.
One more comment for Austin Turner. Double figures for Turner. The fourth consecutive game. The team's tied at 6-6 in conference play, and it's now a 3-point game here with under 2 minutes to go at Little John in the first half.
And NC State has gone to somewhat what is a matchup zone since early in the game, and it's really giving Clemson problems as you see a turnover by Rod Hall, and that's not something you see often.
Warren has it pinned by McDaniels, and T.J. Warren is slow to his feet. Now Lee is inside, and he draws a foul from Ojukwu.
The great defensive stand by NC State turns into a transition opportunity as T.J. Warren gets out, but no shot is safe when K.J. McDaniel is on the floor. Noko turns it over, and you see Desmond Lee getting to the free throw line because of the aggressiveness coming up with the steal. But K.J. McDaniel, who leads the ACC in block shots at 2.75 a game, coming up with a big block shot on the break against T.J. Warren.
How impressive has McDaniel's season been against Notre Dame? He had 30 points, 14 rebounds, 6 blocks. That's the first time that's happened in conference play since Lonnie Baxter put up a 30, 10, and 5 game in 2000. First time at Clemson since Dale Davis did it back in '91.
I tell you what, that's a good week.
It's a good week.
Honestly, that is a good week in college basketball. If you talk about 2 games, that puts you at 15, 7, and 3. That's a great game.
Yeah, that's like hitting your sales quota Tuesday afternoon at 4. You take the rest of the week off and head to the lake.
I call boss, I'm just not coming in today.
Noko's stretching his range. He has a half dozen. Clemson back in front by 3. Noko's just kind of leaning on Anya. He's not going to move him. Lee has it blocked by McDaniels. Lewis can't find space. Here's Anya again. Nice touch.
And B.J. Anya really stepping in, giving NC State quality minutes. And what he does on the offensive end is somewhat of a bonus, but he's really now with 4 points, starting to give them a lift and starting to come into his own throughout the middle of this freshman season.
About a 6-second difference in the shot clock and game clock. Just under 6. Ojukwu. Chance for NC State to finish the half on a positive note. Here's Warren. Quick release to roll it home without getting blocked. Clemson can't get a shot off. No one was there to take the inbounds. NC State was able to finish strong. They were down 7-0 and 2 of 9 shooting. A 19-6 run to end the half to make it a game. 33-32. NC State with the lead on Clemson. Now back to the studio. Here's Matt Company.
Thank you, Tom. NC State trying to rebound, of course, from that tough loss in the Carrier Dome. Up 1 at Little John Coliseum, 33-32. Matt Schick along with Adrian Branch. This is one of those games where a win doesn't help you as much as a loss hurts you. Must win for both. What do you make of it?
Resilience, and that's what Mark Gottfried said with his young team, that they're a resilient bunch. They have a short memory, and they lost a heartbreaking loss that we've talked about all week long to Syracuse. Yet and still coming in to a team where Clemson is a desperate team because they have to get some wins as well, and they're able to knock down shots. I'm keeping an eye on that three-point shooting team because these are bottom-tier teams in conference shooting a three-point shot. But so far, NC State 3 for 6, 50%. That's a knockout punch, especially on the road, if you can hit a three-pointer.
NC State and Clemson, again, a 1-point edge, and combined over the last handful of games, their entire series, 1 point separating those two programs. Well, this game, Iowa and Indiana, not going on tonight because of what happened earlier in the afternoon. Assembly Hall, a piece of metal fell from the ceiling. The game is postponed. Here's Allison Williams with the athletic director.
What was the reaction of Coach Crean and the team when they learned of the situation here?
Well, of course, Coach Crean's here on the ground, and I actually talked to Coach McCaffrey by phone, and both their responses were very similar. Thank goodness no one was hurt. The big scheme of things, we can reschedule basketball games, but both were very pleased that nobody was injured and reacted very professionally. Disappointed the game couldn't be played, but more pleased that no one was hurt, and we're focusing on safety.
Well, that game being postponed forced us here at ESPNU to do some rescheduling, reshuffling as well. Since the Iowa-Indiana game is off, Georgia and Tennessee moves from ESPNU to ESPN, which means we had a window from 9 Eastern to 11 Eastern. We're going to do college basketball live for you. We're going to take you around the country to some of the games in progress, including some top 10 teams. We've got Duke. We've got Virginia as well. Kansas also in action tonight, so stay tuned for that. Speaking of Kansas, the Big 12 in action. It's top 20 matchup. Texas and Iowa State. Texas, one of the hottest teams in all the land, winners of 9 of 10. But here, Melvin Edgem, the steal. Monty Morris up to Edgem, pay him back.
Matt, that's a textbook because they're a smaller team. They have to double team the post. But for Texas, you can't turn the basketball over. Iowa State has the experience, but you can't use youth as an excuse on the road.
DeAndre Kane, no excuses there. Iowa State up 4, still a 4-point margin. Texas, just as you said, no seniors. There's a turnover. They're 7th in the first 12 minutes.
Yeah, 7 turnovers, as you just mentioned, and you've got to have a consistency. Texas is known for toughness and resilience. Right now, the tent is half-folded.
Iowa State getting some easy baskets there. Look at Texas, 1 game behind Kansas entering the day for the Big 12, #1 spot in the Big 12 Conference. These two teams matching up this Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPNU. Kansas and Texas. Villanova and Providence. Villanova, one of the best teams in the Big East. Providence, a bubble team in the Big East. Very important game for Providence. James Bell, 3. Villanova coming off that shellacking at Creighton. They don't want to play Creighton again.
That's the only team that's been kryptonite to them. But James Bell, the upperclassman, only 1 senior in the rotation for Villanova, so their players are going to be returning next year.
Ooh, no travel there. Archie Diacono to Darren Hilliard for the 3. Nova up 4. And then, oh, here we go. Kadeem Batts. Again, Providence on Joel Lenardi's bubble. They're tied with Villanova at the half. We will keep you posted. To the American Athletic Conference, it is South Florida and Louisville. Louisville is a team that just pound you. Largest margin of victory in all of the land, and playing South Florida will help, baby.
Yeah, that was a Tim Hardaway back in the day crossover. Nice job by Russ Smith on the crossover.
Russ Smith hogging the highlights. Ooh. Crossover, little floater. And Smith again, this one unselfish.
Russ-diculous, trying to play under control.
Montrezl Harrell is a beast.
Yeah, they turned into a bop game right now. South Florida doesn't have the scoring punch that Louisville does.
Has an 18-point margin as they near halftime. To the SEC we go. Does Kentucky coming off the loss to Florida, taking on Ole Miss. Former Ole Miss quarterback Eli Manning hanging out, watching the game.
2-time champion, Super Bowl champion.
Wearing the colors, sure. Julius Randle with the big rejection. He'll find you.
That's what you want with your big guys defending at the hoop. And then the weaponry right now, they're coming off a heartbreaking loss to Florida. But Coach Calipari said that'll let us know where we stand against the elites.
Aaron Harrison. Rip and flush. Coach Cal, of course, has been stressing, we want you to feed off the defensive end. They did there here in transition. James Young to Harrison. That's there's some talent on that.
Yeah, Marshall Henderson, come on, let's get a 3-point highlight. But again, the defensive prowess of Kentucky has set the tone in this game.
Ole Miss has Florida coming up on Saturday. It was a good chance for them to notch a resume builder this week. Duke certainly in the NCAA tournament, but a tough road to hoe. We'll look ahead. Rod Hall with 10 of Clemson's 32 points. Got a good one at Littlejohn. A 1-point edge for NC State here on ESPNU. No highlights for this one, just a video of the mascots. It's Wake Forest taking on Maryland. A little ACC update for you. Maryland, of course, trying to rebound from that devastating loss at Duke, one they could have had, AB.
Yeah, exactly. Heartbreaking loss. But Charles Mitchell, the one who missed that game winner, 4 for 6, is trying to respond strong.
Speaking of Duke, they've got a tough stretch ahead. Duke had that game against North Carolina rescheduled, so that means it is a jam-packed week. They've got Georgia Tech tonight, a good chance of winning that one, as you see, according to the ESPN Basketball Power Index. And then North Carolina and Syracuse. AB, which one provides the toughest matchup?
Well, both of them are going to be extremely tough. I think that Syracuse, they're going to win that one against Syracuse, because I don't think Syracuse can play any better than they did. But the challenge is going to be at Carolina. I think Carolina gets them as hot as they are, especially in transition.
Carolina winners of 7 straight. Again, you'll see some of that matchup with Duke at Georgia Tech. You'll see that tonight on our College Basketball Live, coming up in about an hour after this game. It is NC State. It is Ralston Turner bombing away. Wolfpack up 1 on the road. Late tonight here on ESPNU, we've got a top 10 team in action. It is San Diego State, the Aztecs, coached by Steve Fisher, taking on Utah State, a game that was an overtime game last time they met last month in Logan. And you look at San Diego State, a top 10 team. Do they deserve a 1 seed? They do have that win over Kansas, that one at Fog Allen. What do you think, AB? Do they have an argument?
They got an argument, but not yet. I think the top-tier team still holds serve. I think that Florida is hot as a firecracker. Syracuse's body of work, but they're still hanging tough. They're in a good position.
Joe Lenardi says they have a 10% chance of getting a number 1 seed. KJ McDaniels leads his team in scoring, rebounding, steals, and blocks. There's one of his 3 first-half blocks. Second half next.
This is Super Tuesday, part of the ACC on ESPN from Littlejohn Coliseum in Clemson, South Carolina. NC State came back in that first half to claim their first lead of the game on a layup at the end of the half. It's a one-point game. Tom Hart alongside Corey Alexander. We know Clemson's a great defensive team, and they came out with a fine game plan, but then NC State was able to adjust. How'd they do it?
Well, after going down 7-0, Mark Goffrey inserted Cat Barber, and Cat Barber really got it going as he was able to attack the paint for NC State, and he's able to split the trap, and because of that, you compromise the defense as he gets into the painted area. When you look at the purple, he's able to have his choice of teammates to pass the ball to and able to score, but it wasn't just Barber. It was also Desmond Lee who was able to attack on an individual basis and score at the rim. Tyler Lewis even getting involved in the mix, and finding T.J. Warren, of course, who's able to score anywhere on the court. But they've been able to do it to a tune of 16-point paints, and that's how NC State was able to get back into this game.
Here's what the numbers look like at the break. Ralston Turner leading scorer with 11 on 3 threes. NC State started slow, finished red hot. And Rod Hall with 10 points and a couple of assists, 2 3-point plays for Clemson. Back to Clemson.
And that was one of the few clean looks T.J. Warren was able to get. Clemson has double-teamed him and played him different ways. I believe he was waiting for the trap to come and just shot that one a little short right there. But if they're going to play him one-on-one, you could probably look forward to a big half from T.J. Warren.
And isn't that the story with both of these stars? The two best scorers in ACC play, that one half is not going to dictate their entire night?
Absolutely not. And both of these guys can score in bunches. And at this point during the season, they're used to being the guy for their team. So they know that their team needs for them to put points on the board. So both KJ McDaniel and TJ Warren, we could see them both having big halves.
Ralston Turner committed his first personal a moment ago. Still Clemson basketball. KJ McDaniels, 18 points a game in conference play, only 6. TJ Warren, 23 points a game. He only has 6.
And Rod Hall still at it, being aggressive, and one of the reasons why, and we've seen the production so low for KJ McDaniels. NC State right now playing a boxing one on KJ on the defensive end, so they're going to make sure someone else steps up to score. And right now it's been Rod Hall as they play the boxing one, and Rod Hall attacking the paint, understanding they want to take KJ McDaniel out of it, and that's the only way you can get the team out of the boxing one is for other guys to step up.
Warren cutting to the hole, lost the handle, and NC State turns it over. 9th turnover of the game for NC State. All right, so if they stay in this boxing one, Turner on McDaniels, what does McDaniels need to do?
Well, McDaniels honestly should become the screener, because when you think about it, as the screener, someone has to be open, and therefore it gives him opportunity to maybe post up and get inside position or give him driving lanes.
Hall fires again, so as a screener, he'd be occupying 2 defenders.
Absolutely, because he occupies 2 defenders, and of course, if you make a mistake, then he's able to move and be able to get open. But right now, there are 10 defensive eyes on KJ McDaniels on the other end of the floor, daring someone else to come out and beat him.
Turner off balance, off the curl. Clemson's got it. See if they have time to set up the boxing one. They don't. Noko running. Whoa, where did he throw that one to? Vandenberg picks up his 3rd, and Noko went up like he was going to throw it down from outside the paint.
And of course, sportsmanship, great sportsmanship by Jordan Vandenberg, going over and letting him know nothing was intentional. But of course, the fans here want an intentional foul. That's not an intentional foul. The officials will go to the monitor, but that's nothing flagrant about that. He basically just knocked him off course. The fall is really what gathered the reaction, but I don't see anything there.
Watch Noko's left leg, 6'10", 250 pounds, and that left leg kind of went into Vandenberg as much as Vandenberg got in Noko's way.
But from that standpoint, I mean, the fall is the reaction. Of course, whenever you see a guy running the floor that hard and he goes down, but there was not enough there for Jordan Vandenberg to warrant a flagrant foul, in my opinion.
It was a bit of an undercut from Vandenberg from the angle underneath the basket. Although I don't know, you know, when I see it more and more, Just kind of looked like he was running with him.
He was running with him. Of course, Noko was just faster. And so it was really just the nudge right there that threw Noko off balance. But, of course, when you go off 1 foot, especially in traffic, you can't control the way that you come down because, of course, your body goes all off. But that is very little contact, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the fall is where the reaction is, but, of course, the officials coming to it doing a great job. That's just 2 shots.
And he's not going to fall like that if he doesn't go up and act like he's going to throw down a tomahawk dunk from 7 feet away.
Well, that's like the kickback on a gun.
That's right. He's shooting an elephant gun.
He went so hard with the dunk attempt, he threw himself off balance. Vandenberg really didn't give him a lot of contact.
So it's simply the 3rd personal foul on Vandenberg. Little consolation for Vandenberg, who's now likely going to have to take a seat. They're going to go small and replace him with a 6'4" Desmond Lee.
And this is really where, and of course, you know, he may not want to hear it, but this is when NC State gets really dangerous when they have T.J. Warren playing at the 4 position. Because you have to think about a power forward having to match up with him defensively. And that is a tough task. It's a tough task for small forwards to guard him. But you think about the way that he can attack the basket with a bigger guy guarding him. Now playing against Blassingame is not much bigger, but still not the experienced defender that is KJ McDaniel.
Lee tries to get into the paint, and that one is redirected by Noko. Here comes Ron Hall pushing it. Eyes up the lob! And he threw that one to Anderson. Harrison, did he hit his elbow on the side of the backboard?
Well, just for the record, there's no one named Anderson on the court. You're talking about Anderson, South Carolina.
Yeah, that's down the road a piece.
And someone there may have been able to catch it, but I can tell you what, Harrison's a great athlete, but he wasn't catching that one.
We had everybody at home checking their rosters. Who's this Anderson kid? Is he on scholarship? Good handles by Lee, and that one's redirected. Second straight block for Noko. Now McDaniels, and that'll be an intentional foul on Ralston Turner, his 2nd.
And this is the way you get KJ McDaniel into the game against the boxing one. You get out in transition, but you see Ralston Turner here. And again, I understand the call because there has to be a play made, a basketball play made, and it's still not a lot there. I mean, at the end of the day, he's just trying to stop a layup. It's not a lot there. I mean, I do understand why you call it a flagrant, but I mean, at the end of the day, and maybe this is my basketball player coming out, if you're going to get a flagrant foul, you should at least deserve it.
Right.
I don't think Ralston Turner's got his money worth on that one.
And so KJ McDaniels, 2 free throws and a basketball for Clemson. In a 4-point game, every possession should matter. NC State knows that well. Their game against Syracuse featured 13 ties, 18 lead changes, and the Saturday night loss at the Carrier Dome. Discuss Maryland how important a possession is. They had a mistake in their game at Duke where the possession arrow didn't change. They lost that one in the last regular season ACC matchup with their rivals. Harrison. All over the rim was Blassingame, and he picks up his first bucket. So NC State went small. They couldn't keep Blassingame off the glass. And a timeout taken by Mark Gottfried in NC State. NC State led by 1 at the half. They have yet to score since. It's another 7-0 Clemson run.
the lob to Embiid.
That's a finish.
And they're going to knock off number 6 Kansas here at the Irwin Center.
How much fun has the Big 12 been this season? Well, the top 2 teams in the league go head-to-head Saturday on ESPNU. Number 19, Texas, will go to Lawrence to take on 8th-ranked Kansas in Allen Fieldhouse. Saturday, 7:30 Eastern on ESPNU.
Of course, a guy that people here are very familiar with, Rick Barnes, has really had a resurgence this year. That Texas team has found his way back into the top 20 after struggling the last couple years getting to the NCAA tournament.
In a balanced league, they went overtime last night with Baylor at home. What a crazy finish to that one on Big Monday. Turner through the double screen. And Blossom Game is showing his leaping game. Another grab high above the rim. Harrison driving on Lewis, left him behind and kissed it off the glass.
And right now, what Clemson is doing, and you can see it's by design, whoever Tyler Lewis is guarding, they are trying to find ways to put him into driving situations.
Washington answers. He's got 4. How long can Mark Gottfried sift with Tyler Lewis if they're going to continue doing it?
Well, I believe he can stay with them, but they're probably going to have to go to the zone right now because you can see they're running a weave to see who they're able to get him on. And right now it's Rod Hall, but they're going to try to find opportunities to be able to attack him because he doesn't defend guys driving to the paint very well.
Blossom Game and his second bucket this half. Red hot start for Clemson. Remember, they scored first 7 of this game and then the first 9 of this half. 43-35, the Clemson lead over NC State. 2 teams trying to get above 500 in ACC play. Welcome back to Super Tuesday from Littlejohn Coliseum in Clemson, South Carolina. The Tigers back in front of the pack, 43-35 after NC State led at the half. And Clemson has done it with an aggressive offense. This is a team that's second last in the nation in tempo. Their half court, though, since the break has been nearly perfect. And they've done it against a variety of defenses. They've seen man, box and one, and zone. Team that's shooting much better tonight than they have all season. 4 of 7 in the second half, while NC State is just 1 of 6 in the second half.
And what Clemson has done, they've attacked the paint. I mean, and that's really been the biggest difference. They've attacked the paint. Of course, they got the free throws, getting out in transition, the flagrant foul, and then, of course, the foul for Landry Noko. But really, it's been their attack on offense, 4 of 7 from the field, as you mentioned, and they're shooting the ball so well here in the second half against multiple defenses.
Out of the timeout on the inbounds, Warren lost the handle on it. He has been a go-to player. He leads the league in scoring. He's got 4 30-point games. But he also plays 34 minutes a game. And Warren has turned it over a couple of times tonight. 10 turnover as a team.
And right now, NC State in the straight man because K.J. McDaniel on the bench right now, so they're not going to play the box of 1 as we get the offensive foul.
It's on Jete, his second. They also were able to go back to the man because Cap Barber is back in the game at the point.
This is true, and of course, you know, Mark Godfrey going to the substitution to get Cap Barber, who's his best one of his better on-ball defenders. He and Desmond Lee really are their defensive group, but right now they've got to make up some points on the other end.
Well, NC State can't find anything on that offensive end. 1 for 7 to start the half for Mark Godfrey's squad.
But it was the substitution that when he brought Cap Barber and the bench guys into the game that really got them into this game after Clemson was able to get off to a 7-0 start early. When he went to the bench is when they really started to pick up the momentum attacking the basket.
They went on a 19-6 run over the final 7 minutes of the first half as DeMarcus Harrison gets whistled for his second. Turner hesitated. Probably had a pretty good look. Washington finds his cutter. Beautiful look. And T.J. Warren doesn't need a dribble to throw it off the window.
I tell you what, that was not a very good pass, but it was a great catch and finish for T.J. Warren as he's able to, he did everything with one hand on that possession.
Paul was the opposite of the screen. Jete on the glass, his first career start tonight. Back to Warren, right into Jete, and that's an offensive foul on the 7th best scorer in college basketball. 988 career points now for T.J. Warren after this feat.
I tell you what, you're talking about a great play design, but all with one hand. Does put the second hand on to gather it, but also avoiding the shot blocker coming over. And Washington with the great idea, probably not the best execution, but one of the things about T.J. Warren, all you have to do is get it to him. He'll find a way to score.
Game has 7.5. Near steal, Warren crosses over. Spiked into the first row by McDaniels.
K.J. McDaniels, he's that guy in the room. You always have to know where he is because no shot is safe. You may think it's open. But K.J. McDaniels has different plans as we see Harrison get out with the easy dunk in transition. And they are on their feet here in Little John Coliseum.
Timeout, NC State. The ACC is home to 5 of the top 20 defenses in college basketball. I don't know if any of them are better than Clemson. And this is the 5th block of the game for K.J. McDaniels that leads the offense.
And you talking about a guy that is 6'6" and averaging close to 3 block shots a game. And for Clemson, of course, whenever they're able to force turnovers and get easy points off of transition, they become such the better team. Not a great half-court offensive team, but often their defense turns into offense.
8 points and 5 blocks from McDaniels, a junior from Birmingham, Alabama. Clemson was the only ACC team to recruit him. And he has blossomed big time here in his third season.
I also had opportunity to spend some time with him at the Kevin Durant Skills Academy this summer. And I tell you what, there's some big name players there in the ACC, but KJ McDaniels held his own amongst the best of the best there, playing against some of the top guys around the country.
NC State had a comeback get them in the first half to take the lead. They're going to need one here in the second half. And that's a stroke for Kyle Washington.
In Washington, the more of the offensive player, he and Leonard Freeman, both freshmen that play at the power forward position, both in the game right now as NC State starts the zone. But Washington, the better offensive player of the bunch.
Filer steps into the three. Got it! 6 for Filer. Clemson came in facing one of the best three-point defenses in college basketball, and they have lit it up in the second half from deep. Barber crosses over again. Washington draws contact. McDaniels thought it was his 6th block and said it's his 2nd foul. Wednesday, join us right here on ESPNU for a couple of conference battles. At 7, it's an American showdown as UCF hosts Sean Kilpatrick, number 7 Cincinnati. Then at 9, 2 Big 12 schools square up. TCU heads to Manhattan to take on the Kansas State Wildcats. Wednesday night hoops at 7 and 9 on ESPNU and live on Watch ESPN. Kyle Washington only converts 54% of his free throws.
Washington, the benefactor of a beautiful move by Anthony Cat Barber to cross over to get into the paint, attracting so much attention and being able just to hand the ball off to Washington, who's able to convert the 2nd free throw. But right now, points are coming few and far between for the Wolfpack. They're going to have to find a way to pick up their offensive production because Clemson has it going right now.
Clemson defensively makes you use almost the entire shot clock, and it really puts a premium on each shot selection. No call, jumper. Anya lost a handle on it. Here comes Cat. Freshman from Hampton, Virginia. 18 starts in the season for Barber. He missed some time due to illness before the Miami game. And Tyler Lewis, Wally Pippen. There's Anya, Wally Pippen the rim.
I tell you what, BJ Anya has really given the Wolfpack a lift. Now 6 points for him and the offensive rebound, and they've gotten this game back within single digits. And Clemson had struggled with the zone from NC State. So Mark Godfrey going back to the zone right now. We'll see if Clemson's able to respond.
Harrison, they're responding all right. With a rare flurry of threes for Clemson.
Well, we talked about neither of these teams really being great three-point shooting teams in the open, but they have proved us wrong here tonight. We didn't think we'd even see many opportunities. They've both gotten it up, though.
Cap Barber into heavy traffic, got knocked off balance. Filer's got Harrison, and he leaves it for McDaniels. A little rope-a-dope. Filer found McDaniels on the break. He'll be at the free throw line on the other side of the floor. Nice swat. 12-point lead for Clemson over NC State. Two teams tied at 6-6 in the middle of the pack of the ACC. And here's where it matters. The top 4 teams get a double bye in the ACC tournament. The top 9 get a bye. But here's where it's interesting. NC State already owns a tiebreaker over Maryland, Florida State, Notre Dame. And this being the only matchup of the season between these two, the winner of this one would own a tiebreaker over the loser. So this kind of a swing game if you think of it like that. Bigger picture, neither one of these teams can afford to drop this one when you talk about their NCAA resume.
Absolutely, and I think that's really where the issue comes in, because you talk about two teams who both have NCAA aspirations, and there will be at least 6 ACC teams in the tournament. So if you finish in the top 6, you have a good chance of being one of those teams. And right now, for both these teams, not great resumes in the non-conference, but of course what you do in conference has a large weighting as far as your scale too. And with that being said, both these teams still heavily in the hunt.
NC State has an RPI of 45. Clemson has an RPI of 75. Pack has 4 top 100 wins and 3 top 75 games remaining. Meanwhile, Clemson had a non-conference strength of schedule of 271. So ton of work left to do for these Clemson Tigers. To win here tonight would be a step in the right direction. And now they hold their largest lead of the game. A floating 3 for T.J. Warren, his first triple of the game. It was at the 9-minute mark of the first half that NC State put on their run. Now they're trying to do the same here at the 11-minute mark of the second.
And T.J. Warren knocking down the three-pointer, and of course he's more than capable of shooting those. Doesn't shoot a lot of three-pointers, and just where it makes him different from many scorers. But you see here a steal coming up with points and trying to get him in transition as he's able to do that. We talked about T.J. Warren's ability to score points in bunches, and you're talking about 5 points in about 30 seconds, and now NC State extending his defense full court.
T.J. Warren didn't get a field goal for the first 8 minutes of this game. He suddenly has 13 points, 5 in a row. Barber is flanking McDaniels. Back to the box and 1. Harrison with 4. Only the second miss from deep for Clemson this half. Barber kept it alive. Has to give it up, and he'll want it right back.
And I tell you what, if anybody ever wonders why his nickname is Cat, if they're able to see that play, you'll find out why.
Warren has 7 in a row. The 7th best score in college basketball starting to take over. Brad Brownell will use a timeout. They had to use 12 seconds off the clock just to get it into the front court as NC State switched defenses again.
I tell you what, you have to think about what T.J. Warren is doing out here. We talked about him scoring in bunches. They come out of the timeout. Mark Godfrey draws up a play for him to shoot the 3. He knocks down the 3, getting the job done on offense, but then comes up with the steal, and at 6'8" is able to take it full court and transition and finish with the floater, knowing K.J. McDaniels is in the area. And then, of course, defensively, as they continue to get it done, he gets another opportunity in transition for the Wolfpack. And right now, T.J. Warren has scored the last 7 points for NC State, and NC State doing a great job defensively. Now got this back within 7, and as you mentioned before, they had a 19-6 stretch at the end of the first half that gave them a 1-point lead, and right now the defensive effort is there, and they're seeing that they can capitalize and get back to another lead here late in the second half.
995 career points for T.J. Warren in just his second season at a Brewster Academy. NC State defensively has been throwing the entire kitchen sink at Clemson.
And now back in the man-to-man.
Barber picked up the foul, just as he did in the closing moments against Syracuse. This time it was a push-off from Rod Hall.
I tell you what, I had the opportunity to coach this kid for 2 years, and I tell you, he does this all the time, and there's no question about it. The crowd doesn't like it. Watch the right arm of Rod Hall. There's no question it's an offensive foul, but he's able to do that because he's so quick he can get in front of you before you even get there.
Hall outweighs him by 40 pounds, and T.J. Warren lost a handle again. Uncharacteristic night when it comes to the sloppy hands from Warren. 13 turnovers for State.
And T.J. Warren, of course, plays heavy minutes and has to do a lot. But if Mark Godfrey doesn't want to take him out right now because he scored their last 7 points and he's getting hot. But you may have to look at just getting him a quick break, maybe before a media timeout. Let him catch his breath so he can finish this game strong.
B.J. Anya commits his foul. It's a 6. They'll be shooting next. 7:30 on ESPNU. Top 25 showdown. Number 19 Texas heads to the Fog to take on Andrew Wiggins and 8th-ranked Kansas. Then at 9:30, number 22 Memphis will play host to Temple in an American showdown. Saturday college basketball. 7:30 and 9:30 on ESPNU. Also live on Watch ESPN. Filer, floater, no, and knocked away by NC State. And on the knocked away, a foul on T.J. Warren. It's his third.
And right now, if you're Mark Godfrey, you maybe get T.J. Warren. Well, no, they're going back on offense, so you don't take him out going back on offense as they go back down. You allow him to play that out.
You don't want to take the chance. He's going to bring Turner in for Warren.
Yeah, which is a good move. Of course, you don't want to take him out on offense, but it's still a good move because I think he's a little fatigued, and of course that's when players make mistakes. You don't want him picking up an offensive foul with 8 minutes and 10 seconds left to go in this game because you need him to be able to finish this one out.
3-pack starters have 3 fouls apiece. Joining Warren are Vandenberg and Turner. Landry Noko, another free throw coming his way. So the leading scorer in the ACC sits right now. Not just a matter of how soon the clock will stop under 8 minutes before he returns, you would think. Noko nails them both.
This is where it becomes important for NC State. Who do you go to right now at a crucial point in the game with the ACC's leading scorer on the bench? Where can you get points to make sure you stay within striking distance of the Clemson Tigers?
Turner working hard, running the baseline, steps back on Hall. Great coverage for Hall, who's a high school wide receiver playing like a corner here tonight. Filer turned around by Barber. Hall gets all the way into the purple and floats it home. 14 for Ron Hall. The lead's back to 11 for Clemson. T.J. Warren is already waiting to check in. He's anxious. Anya to Washington. And then a silly reach in after. That'll be the third on Kyle Washington. Foul trouble all over the place for NC State, including their star Warren, who will return when we do in a moment. Welcome back to Super Tuesday, part of the ACC on ESPN. And tonight from Little John Coliseum, where Clemson has won 500 games in this building's 46-year history. They're on the precipice of another one here tonight. Up by 11 against NC State. Both teams 6-6 in the ACC. T.J. Warren Needed 8 minutes to get his first field goal of the game. And then in the second half, he went on a personal 7-0 run before picking up his third foul.
T.J. Warren, of course, he had the opportunity to get a short break, sitting down for a second, but you see how they struggle without him on the court. And he was the offense for NC State before he had to exit with his third foul, coming up with steals, getting out in transition, and finding different ways to score the basketball. He doesn't just rely on the jump shot. He attacks the paint with the best of it. Great touch around the rim, and T.J. Warren has really given NC State a lift, but of course Clemson was able to make up 4 points when he went to the bench.
All right, so what's next for T.J. Warren? With 3 fouls, how does he need to handle himself over the last 7:06?
Well, one thing Mark Godfrey can do for T.J. Warren and for the Wolfpack is put them back into the zone defensively, because of course that doesn't put him in position where he's going to pick up many fouls. And right now he's going with the lineup of both Tyler Lewis and Cat Barber in the backcourt. So I'm sure they will be playing some type of zone out front to protect Lewis, one, but more importantly, to make Clemson have to beat them from the outside.
Warren is so good with happy hands, 30 feet from the basket, 25. He already had 1 breakaway to kickstart his 7-0 run. Does he have to ignore that? Does he have to ignore trying to get steals 25 feet from the hoop like he typically does?
He has to just stay away from anything that's going to give him that 4th foul and takes away his aggressiveness. So from that standpoint, you know, one thing that as a coach I honestly would tell my best offensive player, you honestly have to chill out a little bit defensively with your aggressiveness to make sure that you're able to stay out there, because they need him to be able to come back in this game now down 13 points.
You know, 7:06 to go in the first half. They went on a 19-6 run to the Wolfpack. 7:06 after that free throw here. If they can do that again, NC State may leave Littlejohn with a win and go above 500 in conference play. Another 19-6 run retired. Noko got the block. It goes off of Lee and back to Clemson.
And I believe you have to give the fans here at Littlejohn Coliseum a bit of credit. They tricked Desmond Lee with the shot clock, counting it down. There was still 12 seconds left on the shot clock when Lee approached the basket, but he ran right into the long arm of Landry Noko.
Hall's nearing a career night. He's been a focal point of Clemson's attack. He has 14 points. His career high is 18. Shot clock at 6. Filer just flings it and goes back rim again. Lee with it. Lee was aggressive to get into the paint and draw the foul. And that's number 3 on, pardon me, that's on Harrison, not Hall. That's the 3rd on Harrison. I was going the other way. Lee gets his seat. Turner returns. He's got 3. Foul trouble all over the place for both sides.
And I think we could see a little offensive defensive switch right now between Ross and Turner and Desmond Lee for Coach Mark Godfrey, getting Lee in on the defensive side of it, but allowing Ross and Turner to play as much as he can offensively, because he is the 3-point shooting threat for NC State.
Jerron Blossomgame picks up his 2nd personal. Puts T.J. Warren at the free throw line. Fails to knock it down. And the officials want to discuss. It should have been a 1-and-1. That may have stopped Clemson's opportunity at a transition. Not only that, but it's going to allow NC State to set up whatever defense they want. And I think one of the most impressive things that Mark Godfrey's team has done thus far tonight is to be able to switch defenses on the fly.
They have done that, no question about it, been able to play different defenses, and the Clemson fans upset because play was stopped. However, the one benefit that did happen is Brad Brownell was able to get KJ McDaniel back into the game, so if you're Clemson, you may not be too upset about that stoppage of play.
Did make an adjustment to the shot clock after that missed free throw by T.J. Warren. He's all the way out on Harrison. Shot clock in single digits. The lob lost. Lewis knocked it away. And here's Tyler Lewis. Sophomore point guard finds Barber on the wing. Turner tapped it out. NC State running around a little frantic here. Turner leaves it short.
I tell you what, he missed that shot, but that was a great play by Tyler Lewis, getting into the paint, turning to find Ross and Turner. Turner unable to make it happen, but as we see NC State go back to the box at one on KJ McDaniel, trying to keep the ball out of his hands.
Hall, shot clock at 6. Blocking foul at Cap Barber. His second. Nineteenth foul on NC State. After this, Clemson will be shooting 2.
And it's been a struggle for NC State trying to get points on the other end. As Rod Hall's able to knock down the first free throw, but NC State at this point continues to dig itself in the hole. They've done a good job defensively over the last few possessions against Clemson, but they haven't been able to capitalize at the other end, and they'll find themselves down 14 against a great defensive team in the Clemson Tigers.
Hall is the leading scorer for Clemson tonight. A game high 16. Coaches wanted more offensive production from him. They've gotten it. Warren guarded by McDaniels. Lewis leaves it. Gets it back. They're going to wind the clock down again. Clemson is making NC State burn precious time off the clock. McDaniels with a straight-ahead block and a T.J. Warren 3. T.J. Warren is 6'8", and he rose for the 3, and McDaniels rose with him.
He absolutely did, and of course, KJ McDaniels can rise with anybody when you start talking about how great of an athlete he is. But that is not as much about his athleticism as it is his timing and being smart enough to know there's only 4 seconds left on the shot clock that Warren was going to try to shoot it.
Hall got a hand on it. NC State with a shot clock violation. The key play was KJ McDaniels' 7th block of the night. McDaniels has lived up to his billing, and as a versatile player, he doesn't have to score 25 to make an impact.
He really doesn't. And of course, he scored 54 points combined in the last 2 games, but they lost both games, and you see him getting the job done in other areas tonight, and his team has commanding 15-point lead with under 4 minutes left to go in the game.
And pardon me, he's got 6 swats tonight. Harrison, and Anya rejects that one. It's his second. Shot clock winding down. They want Filer to have it. Filer working on Lewis. Goes between the legs. Spins, floats, fires. Oh! KJ McDaniels! McDaniels with a reach. Mark Gottfried has a face as red as the Pack's uniform. He is fired up at his offense. He might have something to say to his defense. Hashtag this one. KJ McDaniels with the McStuffin. 66-49, Clemson with the lead over NC State. They asked for more production from their point guard, Rod Hall. He's done everything the coaches wanted.
Well, there are no seniors on this Clemson Tiger team, so juniors Rod Hall and KJ McDaniels are the leaders of this bunch, and they have gotten it done here this evening. Rod Hall's done it on the offensive end, but it's been KJ McDaniel getting it done, blocking shots. And, of course, every time I come to Clemson, I ask him what you got for me, and he always comes up with something special. Another SportsCenter nominee.
Well, NC State has come up with nothing since T.J. Warren picked up his third foul. In fact, they haven't scored since Warren capped his personal 7-0 run. Hall, 16 points, nearly doubling his season average tonight, helping Clemson to a 10-0 run over the last 5 minutes. And T.J. Warren to the free throw line.
And that's the question. When T.J. Warren went to sit down, we asked who will step up and become the scorer for NC State. And T.J. Warren now missing the front end of 2 1-and-1s. And he's even struggled from the free throw line. And normally that's where they're able to count on him, especially at crunch time. But here tonight, unable to get it done. And Clemson with this defense really can put the stranglehold on you when you get down.
Everyone's gambling for steals, including Lee. Hall says that's fine. Takes it strong into Anya. Hall has tied his career high. He's got 18.
I'll tell you what, you talking about a tough customer. Rod Hall, the maybe 6-foot point guard, challenging B.J. Anya and winning at the basket on the last possession.
Warren over the top of McDaniels. That's his first bucket, the team's first score since there was 9:22 left. That's a 7-minute drought for NC State with the game on the line.
And of course, Clemson content just to kill clock and continue to try to penetrate and get quality shots at the rim. But they're fine if they run 30 seconds off the clock. Even if they don't score, they just won't give NC State opportunity to come down to get points.
They're used to running clock. 350th in 351 teams in terms of tempo. The ACC is just kind of slow to crawl this season. 6 conference teams have tempo rated 300 or higher in terms of 351 Division I teams.
And the craziest part about that, 5 of the 6 of those teams are in the top of the ACC.
It's great defense. It's turned into a great defensive league.
It really has. And when you add, of course, Syracuse, Pittsburgh, and Notre Dame, you're talking about 2 of those teams come from what used to be the Big East and now members of the ACC in those 6 teams that you're mentioning.
Tyler Lewis gets into the paint, finds Anya. Duke isn't known as a great defensive team, but they were able to knock off Maryland this weekend after shooting just 33% and only hitting 5 threes. I don't know if they're going to get away with that Thursday night against North Carolina.
I'm not. This is not a correction, but this year's Duke team is not known as a great defensive team.
Exactly. Or a couple years ago. I mean, 2 of the last 3 years they've been.
This is true, but Duke traditionally has been one of the better defensive teams in the country, and they won the national championship with defense back in 2010. So from that standpoint, they just have offensive personnel right now doing it, but they get the job done offensively.
College basketball lives on ESPNU Saturday at 7:30. Top 25 showdown. Number 19 Texas heads to Lawrence to take on Andrew Wiggins and number 8 Kansas. Then at 9:30, it's Memphis hosting Temple in American Athletic Conference Showdown. Saturday college basketball, 7:30 and 9:30 on ESPNU. Live on Watch ESPN. I was just going through some of the top 10 defensive teams in the country today. You got Arizona, Florida, Louisville with a renewed interest in their half-court defense. Of course, Virginia and even Ohio State, number 3 in defensive rating according to KenPom. And San Diego State, which has had a great season, is a fantastic defensive team.
And as much as I hated playing defense, and of course, many people don't like watching it as much, but that's the way you win. I mean, at the end of the day, defense wins championships. You hear it as cliche, but it's honestly true. You and I were talking earlier about teams that have done it. Kentucky, when they won a national championship, as many of those big-name players they had, they got it done on the defensive end. And you see that time and time again throughout college basketball.
That was T.J. Warren's 4th personal foul. With 1:21 left, Brad Brownell has been a tremendous defensive coach. He got his coaching career started with Jim Cruz, who's now turned St. Louis around. 2nd in the country in points per game. 2nd in the country in effective field goal percentage.
And I would say 2nd in the country to Virginia, who they played in their last game here. And Virginia was 2nd to Clemson, but Virginia scored 66 points in that game, which put them over top of Clemson. So they have gone back and forth, 1 and 2 as the best as far as scoring defense nationally this year. But you're talking about, again, 2 great defensive teams.
Defense to a lot of recruits sounds like a 4-letter word, and all of a sudden a roadblock. But Brad Brownell will build his program on defense. Already this season they held Duke to 59. They held Georgia Tech to 41. And they held Furman to 35, their lowest output in 50 years.
Well, I'll tell you this. When you look at this Clemson team as far as talent, they're not in the top 6 in the ACC. So you think about the way that Brad Brownell is coaching them up, and now they'll probably be sitting at 7-6 in the league after this game. You have to give him a tremendous amount of credit for what he's done with this group. And you talk about losing Milton Jennings and Devin Booker last year. He's got the job done here in Clemson, South Carolina.
Clemson got off to a 4-1 start in the conference, their best start in 17 years. And they returned to form, a team that was picked 14th out of 15. And now they have opportunities in front of them. Road games at Georgia Tech and Wake, Maryland here, Miami here, and Pittsburgh here.
And you're talking about all winnable games for Clemson, and we'll see where do they end up as this goes on. Of course, for Brad Brownell, he still has his eyes set at possibly finishing 5th, at least 5th in this league. And right now, the way that they're playing, especially when they're here at home, they still have a chance to do that.
Carson Fields is checked in. Clemson wants to get him the ball. And instead, it's Hall who draws the foul on the drive with only 5 seconds left on the shot clock. It's a first-time lead. 32 seconds left. What about NC State? They'll drop to 6 and 7. An RPI of 51, a strength of schedule of 19. What's next for Mark Gottfried's club?
They go home, regroup, and I still think this NC State team has a lot left in its tank. They're still playing a lot of young guys who are still trying to find their way.
But speaking of tanks, their tanks must be drained after traveling same day all the way up to Syracuse. They're up until at least 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday night. They flew up late. They had a 4-hour delay to their game. They lose a heartbreaker to Syracuse, and then they come down here and play this one. Did that Syracuse game carry over into this one?
I believe it did. And with a young team, it's often difficult to put that past you, especially when you think about the way they lost the game, because if you ask them, they feel they should have won that game, but a controversial call didn't go their direction.
And so what could have been a season-defining win, well, for all intents and purposes, turned into 2 losses for NC State as T.J. Warren buries the 3. He's got 20 now, and that gives him 1,000 for his career.
One thing about T.J. Warren, and you and I talked about it before the game, if he's going to be on the court, put 20 in the book. Everything else, what he did for the game starts at 20. So if he had 21, he had a decent game. And above that is what he does for the game.
The problem is nobody else reached double figures aside from Austin Turner, and Turner didn't score in the second half. It was all T.J. Warren in the second half, with 14 of his points coming since the break. And so Clemson goes to 7 and 6 in ACC play. They own the tiebreaker now over NC State, as they do 2 others in the middle of the pack in the ACC. But it's the top of the league where Clemson would love to be. Now 7 and 6, a game behind Pittsburgh. North Carolina and Duke still have that remake game to go on Thursday night. And then Duke draws Syracuse over the course of the weekend with a Saturday night game on ESPN. Big win for Clemson tonight. They did everything they sought to do, winning this one with defense, holding NC State 15 points below their season average with a 73-56 win. Coming up next, it's college basketball on. So long from Little John. For now, college basketball live will throw it back to us in just a moment.